It is Tuesday, October 3rd, and I wanted to let you know that I have started a new cycle. I'm actually cycle day 6 right now. Yesterday was cycle day 5, and I went in for my baseline ultrasound, which, okay. I think I was cycle day 4 when I did that the very first time. But anyway, there was a bit of a problem when making this appointment because, you know, they told me I said I wanted to try another cycle with the Letrozole, but I wanted to know if I should up the dose, if I should lower the dose, or if I should do no Letrozole at all. And she said, okay, we can probably increase the dose to 7.5 milligrams of Letrozole for 5 days. And usually starting on day 2 or day 3 of the cycle. So I, most of the time, like to start on day 2 just because when left alone, there have been so many times where my cycle just goes out of control and I'm surging on day 6, and my follicles have grown pretty big, which, but I was hoping that the Letrozole would kind of tame that a little bit so that the egg grows, carefully and in the right amount of time, not just explodes out of my ovary and is all scrambled. I don't know. The idea was to go ahead and increase from 5 milligrams to 7.5. So I said, great, can I go ahead and get that prescription in case I start my period over the weekend? And she goes, oh no, it'll be plenty of time. And then she said, and I don't really stick to just one nurse. I think I've dealt with 3 nurses total, 3 or 4. And I've narrowed it down to basically one nurse that I only want to deal with now. And because the one girl that they seemed to call in every time they couldn't find my right ovary, I thought, oh, I want her. But after I don't think I told you this last time, the measurements were inconsistent. And it's not to say, I don't know if it's possible or not for a follicle to shrink after, like, she gave me a measurement on a Friday of 14. And the following Monday, when she scanned me again, it was at a 13. So it's like, wait a minute, what? It shrank a little, a little bit. And on that Friday that she said it was a 14, this is last cycle I'm talking about, on the Friday that it was a 14 in my left ovary, she then said, I think it was my left ovary, she said that my lining was a 6.1 millimeter thickness. The next Monday, so 3 days later, she's telling me that my lining was a 4.9. And I'm like, wait a minute, I said it was a 6.1 on Friday. So she remeasured again and she goes, oh, okay, it's more of a 5. So she changed her answer right in front of me. So that does not give me any kind of confidence that she's measuring my follicles accurately either. So I don't want her anymore. And I'm going to bring it up to somebody. I just don't know when, because I don't want to make any waves right now. I basically, I am at the point now where I am using them for their services, and I will do what I know because of the years and years of doing this and what I have learned from the clinic from the past. I've gone to 2 different clinics in the past and learned a lot from each one of them. And I've learned some things from this one, and so I'm just kind of taking it all, and also with what has happened to all of you who have told me about your experiences. So I take all of that information and I basically make the decision that's right for me. So anyway, so she said that the doctor would not approve an increase of 7.5 unless I have that baseline ultrasound. And I'm thinking that makes no sense because I will be day 5 by the time I get to you. And then they're arguing with me about my cycle days. Basically, this is my thing. If I see red before bed, that is cycle day 1. Now, a lot of you that are in clinics, you can argue with me and disagree because you've been told a certain thing by your clinic. But it makes 0 sense when you see that blood come, when you see that period start, that is cycle day 1, because your hormones have kicked in and things are beginning. You've got antral follicles that are being recruited in your ovaries. Your estrogen is now starting to rise. And so their thing is, oh, well, if you start your period after 12 p.m., then that's not cycle day 1, even though you're having like major full flow. So it's like, it makes zero sense that if I start my period at 12:30 or 1:15, that's not cycle day 1. It is ridiculous to me. And then the clinic up in Tampa that I went to 5 years ago, their thing was 5 p.m. If it starts before 5 p.m., that's cycle day 1. If it starts after 5 p.m. So you're telling me that if I start my period at 4:45, that's cycle day 1. But if I start my period at 5:30, that's not cycle day 1? Like, no. So she goes, what cycle day are you? And I said, cycle day 5, because I started my cycle on Thursday about 5:30, 6 o'clock p.m. And so that's why they're arguing with me about it not, they're telling me that's not cycle day 1, and I'm telling them that it is cycle day 1, and we can fight about it every day, all day, because it is cycle day 1 for me. So come to find out that, so that was Thursday. So on Monday, cycle day 5, we're looking at, there's a 5, a size 5 in one ovary, a size 6 in the other ovary, and in the middle of all that, my left ovary has a 17.7. So that's basically mature right there. So she's trying to figure out, she wanted to see what my estrogen level was, which it came back at a 46. And progesterone was a 0.6, and LH was 10. So here's the thing. We all know that when we take our digital OPKs, that a 40 MIU LH gives us our positive smiley face. And so I was only at a 10 yesterday, which is great because my body's not trying to surge yet. The lines are matching and they're dark, and I got a 0.78 2 days ago, and took an LH test just for fun yesterday, but didn't take a picture in time, but the lines match. So anyway, so it's increasing, but it's pretty much always going to be positive. That's why I have to do ultrasounds now, because of my age and the fact that my hormones are such that my ovulation tests are just always positive. Now digital's not always going to be positive, but the lines on Easy at Home are basically matching all the time. So, but yeah, so I was at a 10, so like a digital would not read positive. But that was a 10 in my blood, and I don't know how it would come out in my urine actually. So I don't know how, how that would work. But it was a 10 in my blood test. So, it might be positive right now, who knows? But anyway, so that was exciting, but she wants to rule out it being a cyst. So I'm going back tomorrow, Wednesday. Wish me luck that this is the real deal. Like, first of all, it's a little scary. Okay, so this is what happened. I jumped ahead. So they were saying they were not going to prescribe me 7.5. So, don't judge me and don't try this at home. But because I still had the 5 milligram prescription, okay, that's 10 pills. I only needed a refill of 5 to complete a span of 5 days, taking 3 pills a night, making that 7.5. So I totally did that. I refilled the 10, and then 2 days later, the pharmacy actually called me and said, "Hey, you're due for a refill." I'm like, okay. So instead of the 10, I was able to just take 5 pills. And so today is the last day of taking 7.5. And here's the thing, they were going to prescribe that to me until I had the baseline. Well, the baseline's too late. That's cycle day 5. I'm supposed to start them on cycle day 2. I told that to this nurse that I really like. I had her a couple times ago. I told it to her, and she said the same thing. She goes, "That doesn't make any sense." She goes, "Yeah, you would want to start it on cycle day 2 or 3. I go, "Exactly." So they said they wouldn't prescribe it to me until I came in for this appointment. And she goes, "Would be too late? I mean, I know that you can do cycle day 5, but because I start so early and my follicles grow so fast, I needed to start on day 2. So yeah, kind of went behind their backs on that one, and did 7.5. I have one more dose tonight, and then tomorrow's follicle scan to see how I'm doing. So I will post again tomorrow, letting you know if it was a cyst or if it's a mature follicle. She said it sure looks like a follicle. She showed it to me. It's clear and perfect and big and round, and she said this I think this is a follicle. And you know, but I'm like, you know, you got to have the doctor look at it too, right? You're not just on your own here. This is, you know, I'm like, who's supervising all of these ultrasounds? So anyway, I'm excited. I told the donor that I might need him to ship out on Wednesday, which is tomorrow. He gave me a thumbs up that would be great. And I ordered my trigger shot again yesterday, so it'll arrive tomorrow, and so I'll get to do trigger again. And as pregnant as I felt, and I really thought that I was pregnant last cycle, not because of positive pregnancy tests, but because of how I was feeling. Feeling the poking and the pricking in my uterus, and feeling the jitters, and you're like, oh, well, that was HCG. No. At the highest intensity of the HCG in that week, I felt nothing. I'm talking about the next week, when implantation could have occurred after implantation could have occurred. That's when I was feeling the jitters. I was feeling restless, like I do when I'm pregnant, and just the pricking and the poking in the uterus, and yeah, I just felt pregnant. So anyway, but this time with the trigger, and I'm not going to make another video because there's no point now. You know, I did that already and I showed it to you. But you know, I'm still going to start testing in the end, but now I know what to look for, and I know that if I do see the faintest of lines on 13 days past trigger, that it can still be the trigger. I think my body really likes HCG and holds on to it, and it just does not get rid of it very easily. And so I tend to have those things trickle to the point where, you know, it's just like a ghost line, but it's still that little bit left, you know, and the blood test showed that I had 1.1 HCG still in my system on, oh, what was it? It was like, I think it was 12 or 13 days past trigger. Anyway, so that is the update. Wish me luck. I really hope that this is a healthy, normal egg in that follicle, and I'm excited to see how big it is tomorrow. Really hope it's not a cyst. She better make sure. I'm going to tell her, look, you need the doctor's eyes on this, because I am not going to trigger a cyst